Hey everyone, it's Jessie G here. Welcome back to another episode of Jessie's Hangout. This is episode number 19. Welcome. I hope you guys are doing well. I hope your families are doing well, especially at this crazy time with what the world is going through and what everybody's going through right now at the moment. Anyways, today's episode topic is all about my experience with beta testing apps. My first experience with beta testing and what it's like and what it means and all of that. But before I get into today's episode topic, I'm going to recite off a copyright disclaimer before we get started with today's show. Um, you guys seen it before the show started as well, but I'm going to go ahead and read it off so that way you guys kind of get the gist of knowing that this channel is in no way, shape, or form in any way, whether I make a mistake or not. In no way it has any intentions on on violating any of the community guidelines that YouTube has or any of the copyright stuff that YouTube has. I have no way, shape, or form into that whatsoever. So with that said, let's get into it. Copyright disclaimer under Section 107 of the Copyright Act 1976, allowances made for fair use for purposes such as comment, criticism, news reporting, teaching, scholarship, education, and research. Fair use is a use permitted by the copyright statute that might otherwise be interfering. Non-profit or personal use tips the balance in favor of fair use. Alright, and with that said, let's get into today's episode topic. You guys are probably wondering what the heck is beta testing and what does it mean and all of that jazz. Beta testing is basically where a game company who owns a gaming app or owns like a normal regular app, and they basically take what they've been working on and they give an audience an example or basically a Cliff Notes version of what they're working on and what they're doing, and they're basically kind of testing the waters to see how well it goes and whether or not it's a good testing or a bad testing will determine whether or not this company puts it out there. Um, Sometimes it's a good beta testing app, sometimes it's a bad one. Sometimes it needs more work and a little more time before they put it out there. It just really depends on which type of game and which type of app you're working on, basically. But it gives the developers kind of a feel as to what the audience wants and what they're going to expect from them, and what the audience is going to expect from the development company, too. And also, just so you guys are probably also wondering as well, how do you get beta testing apps? Okay, if you have an Android tablet, phone, or any type of Android device that they have out there for Android, you go into your Google Play Store and you get the app, if the app is there. Sometimes if the app is not there, that usually means that beta testing app is full because they only allow a limited amount of number of people that can play that certain app or be in that certain app. So keep that in mind when you're going to look for it. For an iOS phone or an iOS device, you have to go into your Apple Store app, download the TestFlight app, open the TestFlight app, look and see if the app is there, and if it's there, you download it. If it's not there, it means, again, it's full. With beta testing apps, they only allow a certain amount of people, up to 7,000 and maybe lower. They keep it strictly just enough people to where they could get a really good test out of it. It's basically kind of having an early access to an app. It's really interesting. It could be a really good experience or it could be a really bad experience. It just really depends on how open-minded you really are when it comes to games or normal apps. It's really up to you. The basic things that I look for when I'm doing a beta testing or if I'm trying out a game in general, the first thing I look for is how well the game controls, how well it plays, how well the character moves, and how well the perks or whatever buffs or whatever power it has, how it works and how it feels. But I also look for how well the game is presented, how well the graphics are, how well the menu looks, how well the characters' background stories are, basically the storyline. That's another one. And I also look for the biggest thing I also look for is not so much the characters or how well the game plays or the storyline, um, but and or necessarily how it looks and how it represents. But I also look for, and this is what a lot of people look for, whether or not it's a game worth spending time playing. Is it really going to be worth it? Is it worth my time? If it is it worth actually putting money into if I decide to, if I make that decision to, and so on. So that's basically some of the basic things that I look for. Um, I also look for how well the development company deals with their issues, like a hacking issue, a bug issue, a crashing issue, um, a conflict issue with another player, a player doing something they're not supposed to do, how well they deal with their situation. Some development companies are not always the best at everything. I will say that much. It's just it happens. But that's one of the things that I look for. But I also look for the fact of whether or not you could play with other people, or is it just by yourself. And if it's by yourself, is it going to be something I'm going to keep being interested in and not be one day be uninterested in. So those are some of the things that I look for, some of the things that other people look for as well. Um, so far, as for my experience, I should say, it's going pretty good. I feel like the app that I'm beta testing does need some work. The developers still need to work on some areas, and it still needs to work on its uh, people skills. It needs to take more consideration into what people don't like or dislike about something. If that makes any sense to you guys. Not to say that this company's not doing that, but I'm just saying it needs more work. It's still a bit rusty. Even if it was the same layout that they had 6 years ago, it might be a lot different now. It may not even look the same when they launch it. We don't know. So I look for that type of area too as well. So with that said, my experience, I give a basic 9 out of 10 for my experience. It's not a really bad experience. It's not a really good experience. It's kind of in between. With beta testing, it could be a hit or miss. I mean, the test can be a good test, or it could be a really bad test. It's kind of like when you're being an actor and you're going to Hollywood. It could either make you or it could break you. Well, with this test, it could either be a really good test and they launch the app, or it could be a really bad test and they have to work on it before they launch it. Or they just don't, period. They just scrap it and go on to the plan B or plan A or whatever plan they had after that. It just really depends, or whether or not they choose to let that game crash and fall and they just take the app off, period. So, we'll see what happens. Um, but it's been a very interesting experience, to say the least. Hopefully when they launch it, I'll do my full and final review of it. So far, my review of the game that I'm playing so far, without going into too much detail on it, it's a good game. It's a really good game. It's an intense game, I won't lie. Um, I like the variety of different choices they give you in that app. It's a really good game to play, all in all. I'm not knocking it by no means. But it's just like any other typical online game. You have to be careful of your surroundings. You have to be careful of who you associate with, apart from the friends that you have and the circle of people that you are comfortable with too. You just have to be really careful of strangers on there. You have to be really careful of other people because You don't know who's controlling that character or who's talking to you. It could be a 15, 16-year-old kid and you don't know that. Heck, it could be a 40-year-old or 35-year-old and you don't know that. You have no idea, so you have to be really, really careful. But also have fun and, enjoy the app and enjoy the game at the same time. So there's that. I did do an online chit chat about online gaming and what's the pros and the cons and the really bad and the really good stuff. I'll put it in the comments of which episode that was, and you guys should really type it in and go check it out. It was a really good one. It was a really eye opener for me. Some of my opinions of online gaming has changed, some of it hasn't. It I'm not saying that it remains the same, but it's pretty much how I still view it in some ways. Some ways I view it differently. But I will say, all in all, online gaming is a really good way to make friends. Whether they're younger than you, is still a good way to make friends. But you're still gonna deal with your average bully or your average person that's not gonna be very nice and rude, and you're just gonna deal with that. So you have to be really, really prepared to deal with that when you're playing beta testing online games or online games in general. Period. So yeah, that's my experience with this beta testing so far. I hope that when they launch the app and I do the review, that you guys give this game a go. I hope that it works out for the better. I do hope that the development company that's doing the beta testing app really, 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 really takes into consideration what people are saying and doing through the surveys. I hope that when they launch this app, it's a success. It's a success. Oh my goodness, Jessie G cannot talk today, you guys. I hope it's a successful launch. I hope it doesn't flop for their sake and for other people's sake, because there are people that do enjoy this game. So with that said, that's just kind of my little Cliff Notes small version of what it's like to beta test an app. It's very interesting. It's very different than normal. I do like the fact that they allow you to test out different things, see how different things feel. Get, like, say you want to try out a character, it'll allow you to try out that character. Just gives you kind of the look and the feel and the gist of everything. And that's what I like about beta testing, and that's what I like about this game in general. I will say that. So it's pretty interesting to not only learn the backstories of the certain characters in this game, but it's also very interesting to see the different abilities and how well they play and how well they control, and what are good characters and what are bad characters. So it's really cool. A lot of YouTubers have rated the characters strongest to weakest, and they've also done that with the other characters that are the evil characters of the game. So that's pretty cool. It's very interesting. So I look forward to seeing what really happens with this game. What happens with it when they do go through with this layout. If they go through with this layout. So keep up to date with me through Twitter and through my other social medias, because I will do my best to keep you guys up to date with everything. So go check me out on all my social medias. They're always listed in the description box below this episode. Also, if you are new to the channel and you haven't subscribed yet, hit that red subscribe button and that notification bell so you'll be notified as to when I upload episodes in the future. And I hope you guys enjoyed today's episode as well. I hope you guys got a lot out of today's episode. I hope you guys got some tips out of what to look for if you ever choose to beta test. Let me know in the comments of what your experience is, if you've ever done beta testing before, and how well did your experience go? Was it interesting? Was it bad? Was it good? Was it both? I'm really curious to know. So leave a comment below if you wish to tell your story. It's really interesting because I've never done this before. This is my first time of beta testing, so this has been a very interesting experience to say the least. And with that said, I hope you guys have an awesome afternoon, evening, day, or night, wherever you are listening to this from. And I hope you guys are staying safe and in good health and getting through this tough time that the world is in. And I will catch you guys in my next episode later.